What have we set our sights on, honestly? With the upcoming new moon in Pisces ending our current lunar cycle, we are being encouraged to change the tempo of our own timelines by acknowledging where we may not be having much fun with the soul songs we continue to replay. Can we write new lyrics? Or will we be forever spinning out remakes of melancholic melodies? It all depends on how open we are to a more intuitive intermission. It doesn't always make sense to me. I don't have all the answers. It is often the last thing I want, yet ironically, I trust the process. Deep down somewhere, it is what I've always known. And no matter how much it may frustrate or piss me off, it is always what I need. I don't mean the song choice for the upcoming new moon in Pisces. Despite coming out of nowhere, I learned a long time ago not to fight these insights. Whilst the lyrics I Need Your Love by Dead and Alive may not be as clear as I would like, I can relate to the spinning round and out they speak of, both in my own narratives playing out and the almost intangible yearning for something. I may be lacking in direction regarding where these words want to guide the potential, but I know it's all part of the composition, alongside needing to take time out this week to master my own piece. What doesn't make sense, I guess, on reflection, is my own disconnection from this faith within me, meaning sat in my lounge wishing I'd finished so much, yet achieved so little earlier. I found myself conflicted with where I am. Rather than repeat the many scenarios I have before, assessing, evaluating, healing, planning from a need for perfection, instead I let it all go. The hopes, dreams, experiences, records of who I once was, and as such, who I believed myself to be becoming. My body has made this annoyingly, beautifully easy, granting me a remake of last month's virus. Meaning no matter how desperately I may wish to deafen the continual sounds of avoidance, there is nothing to be done but sit with them, open my loving arms to the version of me I've been silencing. It hasn't been comfortable. My own traumatized mind has been finding many explanations for what is occurring, from past lives and ancestral wounds to astrological influences, taking me round and round a mental, emotional, and spiritual loop, all of which holds relevance, but no space for an individual process, the human experience. Instead, I'm being shown my own private number, the vision or value I need to befriend. From declining scenarios that have no reflection of this, through to new potential homes that insist on contractual compromise. Having had to look at circumstances I can no longer work in, brutally scratching at the personal compassion I am lacking, it feels as though I've been constantly caught in a never-ending cycle of energies for the last decade or more. Of course, it isn't the case, as I find myself in the vibrational rhythm or template I, like so many of us, are being encouraged to break through with the upcoming lunar completion at the end of this month. Sacrifice. Victim mentality for all that hasn't had its way according to our ego and believed desires. By moving with the support available and any resistance we may have towards it within us, on a higher emotional felt sense, as we tune into any individual goals regarding faith and acceptance of imperfections in ourselves and each other as the new bandwidth to be taken forward. We can no longer be inauthentic with our potential, meaning many connections, or for some, chords even, are likely to need re-examining, none more so than the umbilical one. Encouraging us to not only look at the relationship had with our own maternal figures and the earth, but ourselves as the guardian of all we create. Do we need help? What structures in place have permitted this, including the stories we have inherited? Occurring in the last zodiac sign, now more than ever, we are being encouraged to expand our imagination and visualization skills if we want to find peaceful rejuvenation of any dreams we may have held for ourselves and the collective. By being honest with the often limited emotional capacity externally encouraged. It isn't always about what we want, but what the soul needs. Like it or not, kick and scream as much as we may, there are realities that must be played out. This, of course, may lead to impatience with any changes. It is one thing to know the future, another to hold or rather make space for it, by assisting anything now preventing this to clear, with focus, determination, and concentration on expanding our vision. Supported by all the planets currently being direct, there is, however, with Venus preparing to station retrograde and Jupiter squaring this moon, a heed to recognize the difference between hope and delusion. Now is a time to observe bypassing, especially of the more spiritual nature, in its many forms, including its denunciation, pushing against natural law or flow and overreaching from a lack of realistic presence with the current situations we find ourselves in. It is about working with these narratives, not against them, acknowledging at one point they too would have served the greater good, regardless of our beliefs around them. How? By doing what Pisceans do best, not the shadow, overconsumption or blocking and numbing through excess, be that work, sex, perspectives or alcohol, but feeling. As we step into what is inevitably a new emotional cycle full of intuition and empathy beyond logic and reason. By preparing us to see the unconscious places we may be holding on to vendettas, particularly on a creative level, purely through the integrity of accepting what we are sensing, not making something what it is not, and rediscovering the infinite potential available in this aligned authority. Ruled by Neptune, only in looking at repetitive structures, plans, and predictability can we go beyond what is known, given, or in some cases taken, for the impact had on our intuition, dreams, and inspirations. We can only get so far with the shallow spirituality quick fixes offer. Instead, by delving deeper into the energetic exploration being encouraged and letting go of expectations, this new moon invites us to release control of certainty, trust our instincts, and in doing so become more in tune with the blueprint of our innate soul. Known for beginnings, renewal, and fertile introspection, as with any dark stage of conception, in Pisces, there is also the possibility of finally building on all we have discovered by knowingly concentrating on self-reflection. Awareness and management of the energies currently available and necessary to take us beyond worn-out records and into our own essential sovereignty or Christ consciousness. To do so, however, we must understand where we are with visceral validity, as, since the full moon in Leo, part of committing to unseen change that can only be heard within the stillness of our own intuition, if we wish to discover and then decide where we'd like to go. By dissolving boundaries to the infinity of emotional power for the currency it is to become, we are reminded that true initiations are not always tangible, most definitely different from before, and likely to be felt, dreamed, and envisioned before they are able to take form. Allowing this final cycle to play out as we enter eclipse season for the portal of transformation needed in the year ahead. Of course, this may mean we feel scattered, spun out by, or overly emotional and vulnerable to the energies around us. Because we are. It is only in admitting this our greatest connections and abilities will rise through us, by acknowledging how we hold space for ourselves within overwhelm. Especially whilst confronting any necessary changes to bring the closure and deeper understanding sought from inside our own often forgotten awareness. As we humbly recognize and accept we are not separate from the human experience of the world around us. that transcendence void of physicality is merely continuing the programming of trauma, avoidance, and bypassing on a global level. In doing so, we can open our loving selves to the offering Pisces brings for the much needed culmination or end point in an outdated, unexpansive consciousness. From here, we can hope for a greater sense of control by remembering the impact we can have on the dreams we dare to dream, none more so than the very earth we wish to see. Highlighting a necessary prudence and persistence, whilst energetically encompassing at times, this completion may well bring forth the answers we've been searching for, in a way we have been eluding. Self-mastery. This isn't our first rodeo. Rightfully so, the body is keeping the score. It is our responsibility as guardians of our vessels of creation to put in the necessary shifts required to ensure we find ourselves as much as possible in a safe environment of creativity. Meaning the stories that were once appealing may not hold the same rhythm, but only we can decide to change the record. In doing so, we will receive not only our own soul song, but the emotional intelligence and ability to sing it, showing up more in our authentic selves and the innate wisdom that lies beneath the surface. With Jupiter travelling in Gemini, this is the only way we will be able to fully comprehend the at times vast language of elusive information being shared, as we rely on our own intuitive interpretation for the conception, internal dialogue, and translation of the united verses now available. That being said, with eclipse season and retrogrades imminent, including Venus and Mercury, any clarity is likely to be silenced until at least the end of April. Pending this, anything that is heard now forms a great opportunity or sounding board for healing, transformation, and completion on a level that will bring forth an almost unrecognizable time track in the upcoming months. Almost. Of course, this depends solely on what we would like to expand, what we wish to finish, where we may feel in conflict, and how honest we can be with this. As with all uncertainty, if we can slow down, check in, focus, and pay attention to the more subtle messages, we can repair our inner world and any guidance needed. There is a lighter, softer side to the energies available, if we can feel into the potential alchemy through meditative gentle practices, including increased creativity, art, and more inventive, ironically productive perceptions and outcomes. But to embrace this, we must be willing to let go of all the answers, especially those we do not need at present or are yet to be written. With 5 of the 10 planets in detriment, any decision-making actions will remain unclear, if formed purely by old time signatures. Instead, to release these reality restrictions, our focus would be best spent on pausing, recalibrating, working with a momentum that supports the turning of tables through prioritization, reflection, and discerning choices. With Mercury also in Pisces, thoughts are likely to drift alongside any logical details, leaving communication vague at best, explosive at worst, encouraging us to step back if we wish to find the resolution, particularly in preparation for its retrograde mid-March. As the moon's nodes join in the mix, our destiny, fate, and karma may also require a bigger perspective, making love, compassion, and forgiveness the spiritual practices we must now take forward if we are to navigate what could be some intense conversions. Particularly difficult when wanting to leave discomfort, escape, go over the top even, rather than look at melancholy melodies that have continued to play out in the background. However, it is in arranging our energy, finding more meaning in our services, and approaching life with intention rather than complacency of the mundane, we will, with the support of the formal Hawk 222 portal and Mars going direct on Cancer on the 23rd, finally see the sacrifices worth surrendering in the inherent value of our own, albeit transitional possibilities. For now, it is best to go gently, Take our time, honouring the sensitivities by creating harmony with, rather than being composed of, them. Linked to the first decan and Eight of Cups in the Tarot, inspiring prophetic ingenuity and timeline retuning in the lyrical memories we choose to hold on to, this new moon in Pisces brings forth a sound wave of enthusiasm or indulgence, depending on how easily we ride the emotional frequencies available. Connected to the asteroid Leto, the endurances and resilience we have gained can become the difference between record-breaking shifts or one-hit wonders based on how well we recover after hardship. Representing the Divine Mother, now is a great time to look at the tempo of protection and whether its rhythm matches the reality we find ourselves in. In order to regulate the pitch of our own inner truth, placing spiritual and emotional growth as a conscious chorus is necessary over any external noise. Occurring on the 28th of February at 12:44 a.m. in the UK, the same day as the visible planetary alignment, offering us the numerical vibration of the High Priestess, Strength, Hermit, Wheel of Fortune, Hanged Man, World, Empress, Emperor, Lovers, and Hierophant overall, alongside the alliance of Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, Mercury, Uranus, and Neptune, is going to take a composure of it all from within us. The courage of action, expanded abundance, disciplined wisdom, creative love, intelligent communication, and radical shifts of our own intuitive imagination to acknowledge where we may have stayed too long, despite our instincts, if we are to see the personal percussion, or lack of, that guides the changes we claim to seek. May we all perceive emotional endurances for the articulated acoustics we continue to align with. In deepest munay, I ask you now, is it sounding like a broken record? Take care. You know where I am. Kirsty.